So welcome to the NBFF 2024 virtual panel where we go behind the screen of the industry of dance and film to hear from the experts in our field. We have two wonderful guests with us today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. If you could tell us your name, your pronouns, your location, where you're coming from, and your relationship to dance and film. And we'll send it to Gabriela first.
My name is Gabriela Ceceña. I'm from Mexico, and I'm actually now based in the northern Mexico right now. And my relationship with dance, I will say it's been since I was in the belly of my mother, because she was like a dancer here in Hermosillo together with my aunt. So dance was always part of my world. And my relationship with film, I think it started when I discovered iMovie, editing my videos. I started to like a lot this game of editing and stuff. And I remember in my early 20s, I started to enjoy a lot cinema, watching directors like Hitchcock, Lynch, and some others. So I guess in that time, I started to get more involved in films.
Awesome. And Freedom, tell us about you.
Yes, my name is Darrell Freedom Dunn. I am here in Los Angeles by way of Dallas. I use the pronouns he, him. And my background with dance and film comes from a dance style that I've been curating and experimenting and growing called Epic, with Dance for Extraordinary People, Ideas, Imagination, and Creativity. Springing from Crump, which is my bass dance style, infusing it with ideas of the orchestral conductor, movie scores, movie scenes, and things of that nature. And that's where the film aspect comes in together. I've also been inspired by movie scores and science fiction films primarily, but also fantasy films as well were really big for me. Mm-hmm. Then as I got older, the cinematography behind film is really what has stood out with me. So yeah, just inspired by, a lot of people in dance are inspired by specific choreographers, which I am now. But when I started dancing, I was inspired by film and anime and things like that. So
the question is, can you share an example of a successful dance film project you worked on and what made it successful?
Successful dance film project specifically? I guess it depends on how you define success. I think one of my first ever films that I made when I was a kid, it was my first time journeying to LA, which was cool. I guess I could say that's a success because even now that I'm older, I go, wow, I had that idea in my mind at a young age. So that's cool to see that I was already filming, but didn't know that that was what I was necessarily doing. So that I would say that's successful because it's leading me to success. And I've worked on a lot of different projects, but I think if I've had a successful dance film, it was more theatrical in nature. There's so many I can speak from, but yeah, I would say my first ever film was like my success story.
Cool, thank you.
For me, I think I will choose, it's not a dance film, it's a movie, but it's a musical. And it seems that it's like a dance film because it's all the time everybody dancing and the camera has a language that is moving all the time. It's recently premiered. It's called Emilia Perez by Jacques Audiard. And my role on it was to assist the choreographer Damien Jalet. And for me, it had such a big impact because it was very strong to see how to create this musical, all the disciplines had to unite to be able to achieve the vision of the director. And I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when you are watching a movie and then suddenly someone starts to dance, sometimes it's off, no? Like where did it comes from? Is it justified or not? So we were like really breaking our heads how to do it, to start dancing, how to justify. And it was very interesting to find the body language more to like enhance the emergency of the scenes, the script, the emotions, and like from gestures to start, or repetition to start dancing. And also for me was very like had a big impact, because it talks about so many subjects at the same time, like transgender, drug dealer from Mexico, culture of Mexico, and everything in a comedy, drama, musical. So it was like insane to watch that director doing this, and he was so positive in the shooting, and this brought to everybody give like the best of ourselves. I was like rehearsing the choreography with the camera to see how can we make the movement. So when you watch the film, it's like this is a dance film also, because how everything is like moving around and things can be told by the movement by itself.
Thank you for sharing that. There seems to be a lot happening with like the transition. So like noticing the transition of what creates the dance, and then for freedom, what is the transition of space. So I love to hear from both of you about things that are successful, and that there's been so many for you. Hopefully that's really encouraging to those who are just getting their footing in the industry. And with that, there are challenges probably that you've come into contact with. So I'm curious, on both a personal level, what have been some challenges that you face with dance film? And then are there any larger challenges that you have noticed on an industry level when it comes to dance and film? And I can throw that to whoever wants to tackle it first.
Well, I guess I've never really, I think the more I grow up in dance, I never thought of separating dance and film, or separating music and dance, and and I never really thought of it that way. So I think one of the problems that I have coming into just in creating in general in a format of dance is like with anything, the segmentation of each. So I think if you have a theater show, if you're filming a performance, if you're filming your own creative dance, filmic work, I think someone who's filming a work for the theater needs to know how to shoot the theatrical performance well. So I've seen amazing dance films that were shot the day of, like theatrically, and look gorgeous with close-up shots, wide shots, right? Things like that. And so I'm like, wow, it's very special to know how to shoot that as well. But then also when you have days to shoot, or weeks, or maybe even months to shoot a dance film, it's cool. It's sometimes not cool. Sometimes I think one of the issues I had is that some people, it's hard for them to create movement in the moment, right? Or if they have choreography, and let's say for the shot that choreography doesn't work, right? Then it's hard for them to make something different. They're trying to cater that one move to the shot, but it just doesn't work right. Filmic wise, now that we're on location, now that the light is shining on, some people go, oh, okay, well, I didn't know I had to do it. So it's kind of even like with acting, it's kind of hard. Some people are good on the stage, but some people are good in the camera. But I'm a firm believer, that it's cool to be. I mean, you can have your preference, but it's cool to be great with both, so that when you're on site shooting for a film, you can hone in.
Do you have a preference?
Oh, do I have a preference of how to?
Yeah, you personally, like, how do you like to make and create?
Ooh, everything. I think my preference is choreographing the lighting. Thinking about choreography in dance. Well, how is the light dancing? How is the cinematography? How is the camera work? How's the camera going to dance with you as well? Knowing the movement of the camera. Honestly, I'm just a firm believer that every piece is a portion, and then how is the clothes working on the body too as well whenever we're shooting. And and then for film, I think for film, I'm focus a lot of the time on the acting of the dancer too as well, or like the facials too as well, especially on close-up shots. And then also for the wide, you know, it's different to show feeling on camera than it is live, but it's still kind of the same attributes. And so someone really, even though they're a dancer, they still have to know how to emote so that people know, especially more than actors, because I mean, both are an actor to me, but as a dancer, it's like sometimes you're not saying words, so you really have to be here, right? For people to understand the flow. And sometimes you don't have to be emotive when you're creating for a dance. So it just depends on what the work calls for. So if I had a preference, I love working on the person, the lighting, and the way the camera is moving, right? I think they're all important. If one of them is off, then the whole thing's off. Even the edit if the edit's off, then the whole thing's off, right?
Thank you for sharing that. Gabriela, what about some challenges for you that you've noticed either personally or in the industry at large?
I agree totally what you say, actually. I think I will add the time that we are in, like TikTok and Instagram are really shifting our way to perceive and to be in touch with the image. And I think like our attention is no longer than 5 seconds. So I think our challenge is how to engage the public and to bring it in the atmosphere that we want to create. For instance, if we want to do something more contemplative or poetic or slow, how do you start to engage the audience? I think that's one of the challenge, because I feel that nowadays we want to watch everything in our phones. So the vertical is killing a lot of beautiful, wide and strong image. So I think that that's one of the challenges that I perceive nowadays.
Running dance film festivals, so we agree with that every year. How we can share our dance films, which are beautiful films the directors made, and how we want our audience to see this one, not just see, but experience it and bring more diverse experience. So we're trying to think about literally experiencing dance, like standing up and then moving together and watching dance films, etc. So that's our challenge too.
That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's challenging because there are so many different dance films and also these online platforms after COVID. And some of the challenges that how we also break that boundaries between live performances and dance films. And I don't think it's too different, it's just different mediums, but there are different components we can really enjoy it in, both to dance film and live performances. But anyway, on top of that, how do you think technology is impacting the industry, and what opportunities and challenges does this present?
I think, well, to start with something positive, I think the opportunity will be like we can research, we can get to know, we can learn. Also, we can start working because every phone has a good camera, so we can create already, and we have so many applications to edit it, to make an edition. So I think that's a very positive, that I think everyone, not everyone, of course, but it's more accessible, you say in English, to make a work or to start researching. And on top of what I say of the challenges, I think as we know, we are globalized through technology and through economy. And I think somehow I perceive this in arts already. Like the industry wants us to have the agenda, the topics that are allowed to talk, that are the hot topics to talk about. So I feel that everywhere I go is the same. So we are like homogenized, less diverse, you know. So that's for me also one of the challenge.
That's interesting that you mentioned that too. I want to kind of throw this in because one of the other things that we were curious about today is dance trends. And if you're interested in them, if you try to stay on top of them, if you try to follow them, but it seems like when you have those trends, you might fall into the sameness. Do you find that to be true for you, or do you try to like keep up with what the trend is at the current moment?
Well, for instance, to have here in Mexico, to have like a grant, there's an agenda. So it's a lot of how you talk, but then you have to be very faithful on what you want to do and to like make a mix on how you can make it as a language for them, and then you do whatever you want. But then in festivals in Europe that I am more connected, I don't know, in the United States, yes, they want you to talk about this. It's more frame. And if you don't, maybe you're not in. And it's more important about the subject that what is in. So I think that's the global agenda, I guess. Maybe some countries, some festivals give you more space or not. And I don't know, like I started to create, I wanted to create, I was living in Europe and I came back to Mexico because I wanted to start creating. And one of the benefits that I see here in Mexico is like you're a bit more free, maybe because it's still developing more venues, and it's more about independent artists that we're creating these venues. So we understand this and we're not putting these agendas. But for grants and applications, yeah, you have to talk about what is the government agenda, basically, that is a global agenda.
What about you, Freedom? Do you find yourself like following trends or pushing against them?
Yeah, I think there's definitely trends, right? I mean, we know that we're all aware. I mean, as long as we're human, I think there will always be trends that are going to be trending. It depends on which way the pendulum is at, you know, whether it's here, there, around, or across, you know. So far, I think the trend in dance film is like this either dynamic wide, where like I'm not trying to say about any film specifically, but like theater, there's the person, and then this dynamic wide, like the idea of this massive space and this one soloist against the world kind of vibe, or like if it's like athletic film trailers, right? Or if we do a massive amounts of people, the wide is trying to capture these beautiful pictures of humans, right? And definitely like minimalism in clothing, right? So people can see the picture of the flow of the people, right? This kind of vibe. So there is a trend, but I think one thing about dance film that when I've learned that dance film is its own thing, like it's like dance film, right? I love film in general, right? So when I see uh, a film, let's say we just want to pick one, like the Dune film that just came out, right? To see the lighting designers, to see the DPs and how they shoot the colors, right? And the editors, right? How they're framing each shot. And there's movement moments in certain films, right? But I think when it comes to dance, there is a way to shoot dance, but sometimes I like to see dance in a theatrical way too as well. Like if I were to see it, not even sometimes moving with a dancer, but a still of the dancer in a space, right? Having to provide a character that the camera necessarily couldn't add for them, right? That they're creating the space for. Like I like thing is like specific films where you just have the actor in the wide shot, right? Like you just have, and then it shows if the actor can really act, right? That's something I think about dance film, especially with the trends, is a lot of times with commercials and things like that. There's some people who book jobs, no shade on anyone. I love anyone. I say anyone who books jobs, but in real life, if I were to dance battle them, because I come from battle culture, if I were to battle them in real life, it would be game over, right? But on TV, they look like the best dancer of all time, right? Because the film highlights It specifically, the trend is to make someone look larger than life. So all you need is a look rather than not necessarily just the mover themselves, right? And so if I could just, some people just want to, so the trend is to get the person at least who has a look and get the choreographer to help them emote in a way or to create in a way movement, and then the camera work. And so you got this person's dancing, but behind the scenes you got the dollies. So you got the dolly guy, the dolly car, you got the lighting person like up ahead. You know, everybody's there to make sure this dancer looks super cool. And then when the person meets them, we're like, whoa, you're that, or even the actors like, yo, that you're that actor. And then in person, they can't teach them anything about acting, right? So it's like the trend is on making, is on beautiful, which is how it is in history, but on beautifying the subject, right? Which is cool. But I think we're like, when film is at its best, is like, let's say, for instance, the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix, right? When he's doing his dance scene and he's popping down the stairs, right? It's iconic, right? And there's some shots that are just on him because everyone who's filming knows that we don't even have to get the angle right. He's gonna play the mess out of this role, right? He's already so much there. And people, even though people can tell if it's like sugar versus, or like McDonald's versus like a 5-star meal or whatever, right? Or like a home cooked meal, right? A mom and pop shop. People can feel it in their soul, right? So if you're watching a film, you're like, wow, it's so beautiful. You may be like, wow, that choreographer's film, that's the best film of all time, right? That's a McDonald's, right? But then there's certain films that people are like, you still talk about to this day, or like when we think about choreography, people are still, they still talk about the Rite of Spring with what's her name? You know, they filmed that just recently.
Pina Bausch.
You know, Pina Bausch, right? You still talk about that work even on a film, or even people see it live, because there's just the mom and pop is there, right? And so even though people are like, yeah, I don't like dance, and then they see the Rite of Spring in person, they're like, whoa, what the heck was that, right? Mm-hmm. Or somebody be like, I have friends that be like, yo, I hate sushi, and then I take them to the sushi restaurant where these people, they throw down. You go to the right person, the right people, and they're like, oh my God, let me have another piece, right? So I think that's the, for me, I guess that's my irk with the trends, is like, I'm learning not to, I used to be like all thrown off by the trends and the social medias and all that stuff. But now I embrace the inevitability of the trends, right? And I just go, okay, Freedom, well, if we're going to create, then what we create, then I have to really know what I'm talking about with the angles. So like the film that I presented is one of the first films that I'm putting out there, but I have so many films, but I haven't put them out because I'm even, that's why I'm at Cal Arts, right? I want to really know what I know about making film itself, so that when I drop the hour-long feature that I'm going to be submitting to people and showing people, that hour-long feature has shots, the lighting is on point. You know, I didn't fake the funk. Like I really came in there with the dollies, the C-stands, like really curated a moment, and then have shots where the movement artist can really live, to where people, when they see it, they go, whoa, I can see this live, I can see this on a film, like, you know. So that's me with the whole trend thing. It's like, I really want to know what I need to know, you know, to create it for real.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to kind of touch on our theme this year, which is reflections. And so like inevitably we kind of reflect the things that are happening in our world, or like the grant that's kind of allowing us to make these kind of works, but at the same time, like trying to be true to reflecting what's on the inside and like what is our true intent. So the balance of what's happening like around us and what's happening inside of us as well. So here at kNOwBOX Dance, we like to say no to the box. So that can be saying no to like any type of confine, however you interpret it. So I have a question for each of you. Gabriela, how do you say no to the box?
For me, meditation is like fundamental. Like I do it every day, can be hours, through different techniques, Pendelkreis and yoga and intuitive things. And that's for me like the key when I am in a process. I meditate and I write my dreams, and I really try to be guided by it, because I feel that it's the parts that I can find my own truth that are not so contaminated, I'll say. And of course, it's gonna be a challenge to decolonize my own mind and body from all the things that are pre-established and norms. But by itself, like the mission of decolonize my whole system, I feel it's so seductive to me. Like I'm really like on it. I want to try my best to do it, because it's very strong how it is now. Actually, I'm reading a book that it's very interesting, that talks about how power is changing, and now it's called psycho power, because it's getting really deep in our unconscious. So that's very strong, because it's what is very inside us. So I feel that then we need to work more deeply to know who we are, and not to fall on all of this river that is like eating us sometimes.
That's a beautiful explanation of saying no to the box. Thank you for sharing that. Freedom, what about you? How do you say no to the box?
They might beat me up, punch me for mine.
Uh-oh.
No, I was kidding. I don't know. I feel like we're all inevitably in some kind of box, right? I feel like we just, not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but I think we all have this different frameworks that frame us inevitably by existing within it's 2024, right? So like, I was born 1992. Whenever I pass away, right, the past, present, future, right? So I feel like the fact that I'm living in this time frame with what's happening around me in the way that it's happening, I'm automatically in a type of a box, or I'm automatically in a type of a, even if I were to, I can get better, right? I can progress, whatever betterment means, right? But I feel like I'm in a box. But a long time ago, I started I asked myself about trying to get outside the box when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, I think I'm more in a sphere, right? And I think the sphere is really huge, right? And I think if you think yourself in a box, then you're definitely in a box, right? But or like if you like the comfort, you're definitely in a box. But when you're exploring and you're wanting to know more, you're I feel like you're in a sphere, and the way you move about the box of life, right, itself, it's like you move about the cube differently, right? You move about it instead of going from here to here linearly, because most people, to be safe, you got to go linearly, right? But for, I mean, artists, we kind of like go over here and here. They're like, yeah, I'm a photographer, but I'm also a dancer, right? So it's like we have different ideas of it. And I think the world has put us in a square, like a two-dimensional box, right? But I think when you're an artist, you become more 3D, which is more, you're still kind of in this, you're still here, right? But you're able to move about it differently. You're on a different plane of existence, I think. So I think how I say no to the two-dimensional box is I try to think about it in a 4D, 5D, 8D way as best as I can. And I try to know what I try to not to know, like I think I know it all or whatever. Like I just try to, if I think I know something, I'm like, I'm wrong. Like I'm wrong, right? Even if I know that I knew that 2 + 2 is 4, it's only because I'm living now that I know that to be for sure true, right? So for
That's
me,
the most out of the box way to answer the out of box question. For somebody who recognizes the box, that is the most out of the box, spherical, windy way to answer that question. I love it.
I gotta have that song ready to play, out of the box.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much. This was a really fun interview, and I'm glad to hear both of the perspectives of both Gabriela and Freedom. We look forward to everybody being able to hear what you guys talked about, and hopefully it's an inspiration to those coming up in making as well. Thank you so much.